trust. Without the proof, it turns to dust. Build it open.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome, Wolfgang, Billy, Thibault, Fung Bill. We'll get everyone into the stage, get some of the team up here as well. Really looking forward to this. I think we'll start with Metasudo, aka Kames, coming up on stage and chatting a little bit about the packages, the new Unchained development packages, and how those can help in semantic engineering. And then we'll kind of open the floor up and bring some of the builders up on the stage, and we can talk through some questions and some different semantic things that everyone has questions on. I know Thibault had some questions. I know Kylan had some questions. Good to see everyone. Give us just a few minutes to get the rest of the gang on board.
Hello, friends.
Hello, what is up? Metasudo, aka Kames from X. How's your day going today, brother? All right, looks like we've got a bunch of our builders in the audience, a bunch of our community. Thank you all for showing up. I see Kylan from HiveMind and Passive Records from Sophia. Got Wolfgang, Samoris, Caleb Mendo. Thank you all for coming through. Just before you joined Metasudo, I had talked about a little bit about the agenda today. So I think we're going to start by going into the new packages. I think you have a little bit of a presentation or some slides to help walk through those, especially the ones that relate to semantic engineering. And then we'll open up the floor after that to bring some of the builders up on stage and chat through some of the problems or questions that they've been facing related to semantic engineering and be able to hopefully come to a resolution for them. All right, we'll give just another minute or two, get people filtered in, and we'll kick off the beginning of this semantic engineering call. The goal here is to do these on a bi-weekly basis, so we'll have you guys come through every couple of weeks. We will chat more on this. Anytime you come into questions, whether it be about what's the best predicate to use, or if you have questions related to the already defined canonical predicates, the packages, we can chat about those as well, help you walk through making your own contributions to those packages and defining your own canonical predicates and getting them added to the list. Kames, are you ready to kick things off, sir? Whoever solves group voice calls will be a trillionaire. Absolutely. We've been having problems with obviously Discord stage here. Every time we have some sort of a call on X Spaces, there's always some sort of problems. For some reason, it seems like nobody can quite get this group call thing right.
I can hear you now. We're good to go.
Let's go. All right, cool.
Awesome.
So a lot of the audience has heard this already, but just to fill you in and get you up to speed, I was saying that for this call, this is our new bi-weekly semantic engineering call, where we are going to dive into some of the new Unchained packages, especially the ones that relate to semantic engineering, like the predicates package, the classifications package, and then open up the floor for builders to come and chat about some of the things that they are working on, whether it's the predicates that they're working on or classifications. Anytime you get stuck or have some questions about what's the best predicate to use, we would love to bring you up on the stage, have some chats about this. I know some of you in the audience are ready for that. But Kames here has been on top of and the lead engineer, I believe, on getting these Unchained packages and all of these new developer kits ready to go live. And so now we're at a place where they can be used. Kames is going to talk a little bit about those. We'll open up the floor. If you guys have any questions at any point, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll make sure they get answered. But yeah, Kames, go ahead, kick us off. What are these new Unchained packages? How do they relate to semantic engineering? And how does it make it easier for builders to build?
All right, let's jump in. Thank you, Mr. Woods. Yeah, so as Wood's been stating, we have been hard at work these last couple of months, really trying to lay a new foundation for intuition, make it easier for developers to build, for ourselves to build, to make sense of the world. So, as mentioned, if you have not checked out unchained.intuition.systems, I highly recommend going there. Even now, if you want to walk through and follow along, I'm going to go through the site real quick. The first place to look if you want to follow along in what the topics we're going to be discussing is under registry and classifications. These are the two new topics that are kind of driving semantic engineering and are the things that you're going to hear the most often from us. What you'll see is 37 high-level classifications. I'll get into what these are a little bit more, but it's like person, places, things, the concepts of how to describe the entities in our world. Second is the predicates, which is all the verbs, how you connect things, how you add metadata, how you build the relationships, edges and nodes in the intuition knowledge graph. So we're going to go over a little bit of what all this means, like how to make sense of this, what is here today, and like what we're moving towards in the future. So slide decks, semantic engineering. Let's kind of jump into it. So what is semantic engineering? Let's define it a little bit. So semantic engineering for us at Intuition is making sense of the world, right? It's like, how do you describe the things? How do you describe the relationships to things? And how do you do it in a way that's machine readable, predictable, deterministic? So you can build a graph, a database, a system that when you query makes sense. And so a part of that, though, is this problem, this idea of dedupe or duplication, right? The world is messy and there's a lot of different ways to do the same thing. And so from that, we want to prevent that. We want to prevent duplicates on chain. We don't want to have 2, 3, 4, 5 of the same thing. It messes up the knowledge graph. And so the solution to that is semantic engineering. So everything gets one identity, descriptions are standardized, claims connect the graph, right? The triples. So that's the high level. And then so what's worth kind of contextualizing, and I think just stating while we're here, is the underlying protocol, intuition, the smart contracts are not opinionated. They have a relatively straightforward structure. Can you guys still see the slides? Sorry, my screen share is just showing the old website, and I just want to make sure the slides
yes.
are viewable. Okay, cool. So the structure are atoms and triples, but what you can do on top of that is up for anybody's interpretation. So if you've used Portal, you've noticed before, if you've created an atom, you might have seen something called thing or person or an account. And so where that stems from actually is schema.org, and we're using those classifications. And so what I originally showed you, those 37, was basically an expression of more than just what we have on Portal. It's the next batch, some high-level ones, but in total, there's up to like 800 entities we can work from just from this template. And so what we're talking about, yep.
Sorry to cut you off there. Any chance you could zoom in a little bit on this? A couple people, maybe, yeah, looking good. Thank you. A couple people in the audience just want to make sure that they can see it.
Cool. Wait, let me zoom out just a little bit. Yeah, and so what you're seeing here on the right is this idea of how do you build the building blocks on top of intuition. So the semantic engineering, right, you have it to be deterministic, it has to be modular, you have to be able to grow it. And so how we think about this is we start with the schema or the template layer. And so how we've decided to do this and what is represented in the packages is this idea of being able to swap out the schemas. So schema.org provides a great foundation, but in the future, our community may want to do something different. We may want to do something different. And our packages allow you to swap out what templates you want to use to define what entities. So that's, I think, really important to know is you can change that, and all you have to be familiar with is the spec of JSON LD, which is just linked documents. And on top of that then is where we've added more opinions. We say, hey, out of 800 entities, there's like 37 that we think are worth starting with. These cover a lot of the essentials, person, places, things, songs, podcast, movies, all the things that we think a lot of people would like. But again, there's a lot more. And then, of course, the predicates. So takeaway, the intuition protocol is clay. We are doing our best to lay a strong opinionated foundation. There's still room to contribute, still room to help us prioritize, or even if you want to get really in the weeds, recommend different schemas and templates. So again, just we've layered on this opinion-based approach. And so what that means for developers is our packages are getting a lot better. So as of right now, our packages on NPM are kind of pretty straightforward. You have basic control over atoms. We have no opinion on how you should structure the atom, what shape it should be in. And of course, everyone does things a little bit differently. And so that makes things hard to standardize on. It makes us hard to share components. It makes it hard to share the data. And so what we've done now with packages is made it a lot easier to build atoms. What should be noted is these are alpha. These things may change. They're evolving over time. We're actively having conversations. But what is important is the APIs will stay simple. So our goal is to make it really easy to say, hey, I want to make this type of classification. I just need to pass these values. And what you get back is an hydrated object ready to post on chain. You don't have to think about any of the lower level kind of underlying mechanics of how to properly structure the atom. If you just have the data, we'll handle the rest and kind of automate that for you. And so what this ultimately means is atoms have a bit of a different life cycle now. So before, you might have just grabbed a URL or written something in Portal, but moving forward, atoms are going to have a life cycle. So instead of just posting directly on chain, for example, you might start with a link. And then from that link, we're able to get metadata. We're able to understand what type of entity it is. This is considered classifying it. You can then now classify that, put it in an off-chain database because you know what ID it'll be, you know what the market will be in the future. You can start to add relationships. And then what's really clever now is the ability to enrich it. So before, one of the drawbacks of just posting stuff on chain, it could be very expensive to add a lot of metadata. And so this new strategy we've taken allows you to associate places that you want to pull data and represent that in the front end without having to do a transaction every time. And then finally, though, is if the atoms do get popular and there is a reason to bring a market for them, you can easily do that, and it's already in your database as well as other people's because everything was deterministic and easy to rebuild. So what you can do today is we have alpha packages released on NPM. We released them about 2 weeks ago. We're still working on fully fledged docs, but a lot of the packages themselves declare how to use them. Everything's a lot more modular. So before we had just an SDK, a single package, it contained everything. Our focus moving forward is to have packages be a lot more self-contained, easier to reason about, easier to pull into different situations. So starting as simple as a basic IDs package just for generating IDs, you might pull this into any number of services or workers or any bots, as well as classification, predicates, and so on. In total, we have about 9 or 10 packages. They all try to do a couple of things really well. So that's the focus of them. And again, I think what's really important to be stated is we are in alpha and we are especially interested in community feedback. This only works if everybody adopts it. The work that we put in is really in service to our community, making it easy for you guys to build instead of thinking about hey, what predicates do I have to use? So what we really want you to do is go check out the packages, see how to make PRs, tell us what classifications you think are worthwhile. Hey, should we add restaurant? Should we add this and that? And so we are ears are open, and we definitely will read your PRs and take a look and see what you have to say. Also, this is episode 1. We want to continue to do a series of these. So every couple of weeks, we will dive into specific topics. 1 week might be classifications, other week predicates. We'll talk specifically about how to use them or examples of that, as well as how to use the packages in more detail. So again, the goal, build the world's knowledge graph. These are alpha packages. You can start adding them today with all the alpha tags. These are just some of the things available. It's a lot more, again, from our old packages, so feel free to dive in. There's a lot to see and figure out. So that is the end of the presentation. So I'll end it a little bit more of just showing off what we got. So like I said before, packages was recently published. It's on our GitHub and NPM. It's a new monorepo approach. So if you go into packages, this is where you will see everything. I'll quickly just show off a few. I think schema.org is worth seeing, just the sheer number of classifications we can use. Right, so these are all available. These are all ways to describe the world, entities, person, places, things, and relationships and fields. Right now we expose 37, but as you can see, there's just a ton. Right, and it's kind of on us to figure out what's valuable, what's not, what do users want, what do they not want. Packages, and then the other one that's worth showing off is predicates. What we're trying to do, and this is important for Kylan and others in the audience who are building apps and actively asking us like, hey, which ones are the canonical ones? Which one do we use? This package is going to be probably the most important one moving forward. We are trying to make this the source of truth. So I know you asked about listed in earlier, Kylan. I believe we have it in here. Right, so this is subject to change, it's alpha, but this is the place where we are providing canonical descriptions, providing a few other machine-readable fields, generating these, and then publishing them on chain. And so in the future, if you want to share predicates with each other, ourselves as well, you just basically install this package, import this listed in predicate, and it has an ID field, and you can get the ID. So I think that is the big ask, from us to our community is like, help us figure out what we can share across apps and just make them really great. Finally, I'll make this quick. I know I've been going on for a bit. Is we also have Intuition Core, and this is how all these packages are expressed. So we have open sourced our backend to show how to use these systems, how to think about them, how to both index atoms and then parse them and classify them. And the demo that people should click on is right up in here, the Explorer demo. What this will do is open up a new Explorer we have for seeing atoms that use this classification system. So we have a new testnet contract that we've published some atoms on. There's about 700. But what this allows you to do is see that when atoms are posted, we parse them differently. We can see that they're a music recording or a music group or a piece of software, and just more easily navigate the knowledge graph. So anyways, I will pause there. I've thrown a ton at you guys, but hopefully it is useful and helpful. And yeah, we're excited to see what people cook up.
Yeah, thanks for diving. Oh, go ahead, Billy.
Stage a little bit too. I think to what's kind of opening point, like these calls are like this whole exercise needs to be kind of collaborative and community or like we have to come to consensus on stuff. And that's kind of the effort here, and the purpose of these calls is like to try to help us all come to consensus. And what Kames just showed off, it's like, as you said at the beginning, it's intuition's kind of like clay, and you can do anything with the clay. And our initial thought was like, all right, let's just see what people do, and like we'll try to get convergence through the economics of the system, and eventually, like over time, things will consolidate and we'll come to consensus on the standards through the economics of the intuition system. But we kind of have to like get started first. And in order to get started, it seems pretty obvious now that we kind of have to have an initial template set of stuff to get things going that we can iterate on, as opposed to just like starting with nothing and having everyone do everything independently. Like the packages repo is meant to kind of be that singular place that we can all rally around to kind of come up with this initial set of like templated things or consensus ways that we're gonna describe the world. So it is like what we're trying to do is define like literally the ontology for the entire world, which is it's kind of like a crazy difficult task, but I do think it's possible now with AI, and I do think it's like an extremely noble and useful endeavor. So I'm very excited that we're doing this, and I'm excited to work with all of you on it. But it is kind of a daunting thing where we're just going to have to keep making progress forward, keep iterating, and I think like ultimately in the end, like getting this right unlocks the vision that we all see of these interoperable cross-platform data ways of doing data. So yeah, just wanted to kind of set the stage a little bit. It's like I don't feel as if anything is imposed. We have lots of thoughts. We've thought about this so much. So, but at the same time, like it's a very iterative exercise. We all got to come to consensus. We all got to figure out what we're going to do together. So yeah, these calls are meant for everyone to be able to express what they've been doing, the way they're thinking about the world, debate, have dialogue, things like that. So that's the little tidbit that I'll add.
Thank you, Billy. Fantastic framing as always. I would love to actually invite some of the builders up on stage. If you guys have questions or want to jump into this chat, please feel free to raise your hand. I'll bring you up onto the stage. But before doing that, there are actually a couple questions for you, Kames, while you were going through things. So one of the questions from Zed on chain was, okay, so if I'm fully following, atoms don't go on chain immediately?
Yeah, so they can. They absolutely can. Nothing changes in that regard. I think what's important to note is our mental model can update in the sense that because we are able to create atoms now, they have deterministic IDs, and we're in the business of creating a knowledge graph that is imperfect. We use the database as a way to essentially map everything out, make relationships, and it's a way for us as developers and app builders to help our users decide what's worthwhile to bring on market. So it's just another tool in your tool belt of like, hey, I'm building an app and my users don't have a wallet, or maybe they're hesitant to do transactions. You allow them to create an atom. You allow them to like get a taste, and you can save that in your off-chain database, build other relationships about it, and then when you get a chance to you've incentivized the user enough to make a transaction, they can make the market. And so our goal is to essentially make it a little bit easier and less frictionful for the app developers who are building stuff for real users, and want to kind of remove that friction in any way we can. So this is a way we've done that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we're starting to get some builders on the stage. Kylan pointed out that hand raising might be disabled for you guys. So if you're not able to raise your hand, just drop a message into the chat. Let me know that you wanted to come up. Before I hand things off to Kylan, though, there was another question that he had while you were going through things, Kames, and he was asking how many of these predicates are already on chain right now.
So I believe none of them are on mainnet. We have them on testnet, and they're subject to change, so their IDs are changing. But that being said, like once they are solid, based off what I just said, they don't actually need to be on chain, right? As long as you know the ID and you use it, you're all good. So that's the benefit. But they will be on chain as soon as we kind of get out of alpha. We will publish them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. What's up, Kylan? How are you, man?
Things going great. Yeah, been heads down building a lot of stuff. It's nice to see you guys producing some libraries that we could use. So I had a couple questions. So in some of the marketing stuff, it says descriptions are standardized, and I wasn't quite sure what that means, because when I think of a description for an atom, I guess it depends how the atom's created, but a lot of like the concept atoms, it seems like it's usually someone kind of arbitrarily comes up with their own definition or description for whatever that concept atom is. So what does that mean? Descriptions are standardized.
Yeah, so that made the agent going a little wild, but what I will say is we are trying to make multi-language or descriptions or a way to basically have these atoms. How you describe them and attach metadata will be predictable. So that is what that is getting at. Is kind of two-pronged there. Is the way in which you describe and create them is predictable, and then also like more long tail. We need to be worried about things such as like multilingual. So there's trails of that in the code base of just like how you would implement that, how you'd make that predictable, and make sure apps can share those descriptions everywhere.
Can you give an example of one of these descriptions? Because I feel like obviously it sounds like these atoms, maybe we're talking about different types of atoms. So like if I wanted an atom for a Spotify song, what you're saying is there would be a pattern to what goes into the description field, or can you give me an example?
Yeah, so these are all atom specific. So, our opinions are evolving pretty rapidly, but like how we think of descriptions are actually a little more ephemeral. So like atoms don't shouldn't necessarily have a description that's likely to change or is not persistent. That will live as what we call enrichments or artifacts. And so atoms just have the most minimal amount of information required to understand what it is and contextualize it. So a thing for a Spotify song may only just need like an ISRC code and a reference to something else, as opposed to like the description, which different platforms may change. So I know that's not answering specifically like how do descriptions get made, but that is like how we are handling, and that I think is the way to think about it and contextualize it.
And also, I think in the examples that maybe you're referencing, Kylan, those descriptions. So like think of every entity type, and each entity type has a different set of. It has a different schema that we are saying, hey, like we're this is not like end all be all, but we're having an opinion on like, hey, here's probably the minimum set of metadata that you want to attach to each different entity type's atom to be able to like recognize what that thing is. So as Kame said, like for a song, it might just be an ISRC ID. For a person's really hard, so I'm not going to talk about person. For a book, you got like ISBN. For a predicate, in our predicate like atom data, like description is one of those fields. And so here when I think you like got caught up on like the like descriptions are gonna be like in atoms, it's just in these predicates to kind of describe like what the purpose of the predicate is and when you might want to use it. Because if it's just words, like maybe that's not enough to describe like what that thing is. And you also have like the schema.org link, so you can go and reference like other purposes for it. But yeah, like not everything, as opposed to like the portal right now, which is maybe why it's a bit confusing. Like in the portal right now, everything's a thing and everything has like a description field. But in this new model, like not every entity type should have a description for exactly the reason you said of description is like very arbitrary. Lots of different people could come up with lots of different descriptions, and we really don't want that. So it's like most atoms probably should not have a description field, because what you want in the atoms are things that are, for the most part, like as immutable as possible. Like the minimum set of information required to differentiate the atom from another atom, and ideally a set of data that's going to be immutable. And sometimes maybe you got to point to something that is mutable, but ideally you want to just have the atom data be immutable as much as possible.
Does that help, Kylan? And hopefully the screen share a little bit shows. I have a company pulled up, and what Billy's referencing is like there are predetermined fields that describe a company. There are predetermined fields that describe a book. And so instead of just description field being the catch-all for thing, is you have all these other well-defined fields that are established by schema.org. People have thought through this. What do these entity types need to contextualize them? We have helped basically catalog that and automate that. So like if you are building a certain, say you're building a job posting, our SDK will tell you what fields are required, what are optional, like maybe you just need an ID. So we try to hide all of the difficult and kind of just like tedious parts of that, and just expose that through a simple SDK.
And
yeah, so the real quick, so the idea is, I think it was just a little confusion over the term description. So it sounds like the main thing is you want atoms that are under the same category to have similar structures, right? So the metadata, so like similar or the same fields within the atom structure.
Correct. And if you go to the Unchained site and you go to the registry and classifications, if you click on the classifications, it'll show you what fields we expect, and like what are enshrined, what are proposed. And that's not the important. The important part is we show off all the fields of what these specific entity types need, and show examples of how you construct them, and just an easy way to navigate this.
And just one point of clarification. So there's like a set of fields that we're saying, hey, these are like quote unquote required or not optional. And those are the ones that should be in the atom data. And then there's like via schema.org and our also additions to schema.org, there might be like 100 different standardized fields for describing a podcast. But if they're not like quote unquote required, then they should be expressed through triples, as opposed to like nesting it in the atom data, because those are things that like could be mutable, and like people might have different opinions on them and things like that. So like there's the required, quote unquote required set of things where we're like, hey, if you're gonna like create a podcast, you probably want to like include this stuff in the metadata per our standard. But then there's, for every single entity type, maybe 1,000 different fields that are standardized that you can use as predicates.
Okay, real quick, Kames, can you increase the font size there real quick on the screen sharing? Okay, cool.
Sweet. So it sounds like we got to the bottom of those questions, Kylan.
Yes. I mean, I got one more question real quick though. You guys mentioned 37 classifications. Can you elaborate on that or give me like an example of what some of those 37 classifications are?
Yeah.
Like his podcast episode, that's one of them, maybe?
Yep.
Or
so the 37 are in the classifications page. It's like brand, company, local business, person. We have article, book, comment, review, podcast episode, music recording. And so just to reiterate, these classifications are our opinionated take of what the 800 plus schema.org classifications we should expose for now. So this is just our V1. We're starting our app and we're making it easy to create these atoms in our app using URLs. But this can grow. This is infinite. There's no end to like how to describe entities, right? So, but this is the start, and it's a small subset of the schema.org classifications.
okay, got it.
Awesome. Thank you, Kames. And there is, as Kames was just saying, that this can grow. There is a process for you guys to be able to start some thoughts here, start suggesting new classifications or new predicates. There's a contribution guide that lives within the packages, and we've also got a version of that we're going to be putting out here in Discord and pinning somewhere. That way it can easily be looked back on at any point. So whenever you guys do think of a new classification or predicate that you want to get added, there's a structured way for you to suggest that and start the conversation around it with all of the other builders, and then eventually get it added. So we will be surfacing that for you in multiple different ways here. Thibault, I don't know the best way to pronounce your name. I apologize if I'm butchering it.
No, that's okay. It's Thibault.
Thibault. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Hi, everyone.
Hey, man. Thank you so much for joining. I know you've been doing quite a bit of work on Talaria, right?
Yeah, exactly. Project.
Ooh, you're breaking up. Thibault, you're breaking up on my end. I don't know if it's for everyone, but getting a little robotic there, not able to understand you.
Can you hear me well? Or is it bad? Is it better?
Yeah, still having some issues. It's not coming through clearly. Might be a connection thing on your side if you're able to.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Maybe I'm sorry. Maybe I can type it in the chat, and you can read my question if it's really hard with the robotic
You're good
voice.
now. We can hear you.
Yeah. I was just gonna say we can hear you now. So give it a shot now.
Oh, okay, right. So, just to explain quickly what is Talaria. So, Talaria is a historical exploration platform that ingests from multiple sources and structures it into places, events, dates, sources, controversies, etc.
Looks like we're kind of losing you in and out.
Okay, I typed my question. It's okay.
Awesome. All right. Sorry about that, man. Good old connection issues coming in to rug you guys, but we'll definitely make sure to get you an answer if you can shoot us over a message. Had some other questions going on in the chat. I know Kames has been going back and forth. Passive Records had some questions about writing data on his stake.
Good one from Luda. So I think, Luda, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like what you're asking is there some way to look up an atom by its atom wallet? James, do you know if that's, can we do that?
So it's one directional. You can get the Atom wallet from the Atom ID on chain, but our indexer should do the inverse direction. So if not, let me double check for you. But our current old Hasura API, you should be able to look that up.
Awesome. Thank you, Kames. And Zed.
So I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Kylan. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm curious. So if we are creating these atoms with this kind of JSON data structure, would you guys recommend doing that through IPFS or trying to do it with the inline kind of with the stringified JSON in the data or the URI field? The one thing I'm not fully certain on is is IPFS, how reliable is that as a long-term solution if we're going to do anything through that? Some part of me always gets a little concerned if something was pinned and then is no longer pinned on IPFS. I always worry about stuff eventually kind of disappearing off that network. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, to answer your first question, recommendation for a number of reasons is, post it on IPFS and then do the IPFS URI. And then the second one, of course, that's always a great question. Will IPFS be around for hundreds of years? Because these will as well. I would say, IPFS can always run as a node. So even if we are the last people and we're only pinning the ones that have been on Intuition, that's okay. You just serve it. So in that regard, it's just like any other technology. Someone has to run the service, but I think IPFS will be okay in that regard.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So Thibault wrote out his question and a bit of a description about what he's working on, right? And hopefully we can start working towards an answer for him. Teleria is a historical exploration platform that ingests information from multiple sources, structures it into people, places, events, dates, sources, theories, and controversies, then displays them through interactive timelines, maps, and community discussions. And so for an application like Teleria, how should we think about adding contextual layers around atoms and triples without making the graph too fragmented or difficult to reuse? Because until now, without clear shared schemas and canonical predicates, we sometimes had to create triples that were technically valid, but not very readable or reusable outside of Teleria. So should these contextual layers be modeled as additional triples around a canonical claim, as claims about claims, through lists or classifications, or through another shared pattern?
Yes, great question, and I mean it gets at the heart of it, right? How do you construct a knowledge graph? I would say that I'm not trying to be a cop out, but it's like always content specific. I probably need to know a few more details, like to get you exactly be helpful. But what I would say is the best way in my mind to think about intuition and shaping relationships is focusing on the primary relationships between high level entities, meaning like an artist made a song as opposed to an artist has green eyes, right? Like most likely that's not going to be as valuable as the relationships, and that's where markets can be created around those markets and claims around high level things. So I'm happy to have a one-on-one and like to help you figure out maybe a little more nuance, but just at a high level, I would say that's probably, in my opinion, the best way to think about it and structure it. And then I would say Intuition Core is probably a good place to look because we've optimized that database around triples and being able to index triples and create relationships and have some of those nested queries you're talking about. And it might be good for inspiration and just how to think about how to shape your database to align with a triple structure.
Thank you for
another thing to point out is like if you have mutable data or something that you know is going to be changing over time, like what you might want to store on chain is a pointer to that mutable data rather than like putting that like a snapshot of the mutable data on chain every single time, and then every single time it mutates needing to update the on chain state. So like anything that might be changing, like I think that's a very valid path for, you know, having some stuff off chain and just having a pointer to it on chain.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen, for answering that. And Thibault, to something that Keems had said, if you do want to set up a one-on-one or some sort of working session, feel free to reach out to myself and I can help get that set up. Also, a good way to kind of move forward would probably be to talk a bit more about the type of data that you're going to be having and examples. You can make a follow-up post on the Atlas forum and we can all convene there asynchronously and talk through some of the predicates you might use and whatnot. Luda had a follow-up question that your guys' answer was the direction needed, wallet to atom, but if the indexer doesn't expose the inverse, what field would I be querying on? And is that in the current GraphQL or only the old Tessera API?
Sorry, what was he querying again?
Querying, his initial question was, could you query the atom by the wallet itself?
No.
By the wallet address?
No. Oh, on the indexer, yes. Not on chain, but yes.
On the
Visiting
indexer.
API. If you're using the API, yes, you can use the wallet ID to get the atom.
Okay, so it would only be on the API, not on the GraphQL side.
Correct.
Awesome. Passive Records brought up this ontology website from intuition.box. So the Intuition Box team has a website, ontology.intuition.box, that has an atom glossary, and Passive Records is asking if this is outdated in a way. And that's something that I don't know if you might have that context, Kames, or if we might want to bring Zet up from the Intuition Box team to help speak more on that and shine more light.
I don't have enough context, probably needs that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So Zet, I just sent you an invite. Welcome, sir, up to the stage.
Hello, can you hear me, guys?
Yes, sir.
Cool, okay. So, yeah, I don't think it's out of context because, like, this website focused on something slightly different that the entity and the list of predicates, but it's a mapping of, like, how, like, those different atom and predicate can map into something useful. So the idea is like to provide builders to register their, depending on their use case, their own ontology and declare the ontology they use for their app.
Okay, understood. So it sounds like it is not outdated, but continues to remain a useful tool for the builders.
I think if the
Yeah,
past they needed, I think that the packages and ontology are probably out of sync, if I would have to guess.
Yeah, there is a few things to update, but it was like built in mind with this approach that we are taking right now.
Awesome. So you're going to end up.
And one thing for the ontology site, I think one of the ideas behind it was like showing what people are doing, as opposed to being an expression of like quote unquote what to do, or like an opinionated stance on like, hey, here are the templates. It's like, hey, here's what everyone is doing, and then we can use that ontology information to like back into what you might want to do, or what we might want to turn into a standard. So there's kind of like two things at play. There's one, the stuff that we're trying to like, the more crystallized stuff that we're trying to turn into templates, and then there's the a visualization of what people are doing, so we can use that information to try to back into consensus standards.
I think my mic quit working there, but we're back live. Thank you, Billy, for the additional context and information. I'm gonna think.
I had a question and a quick point, if that's okay.
Yeah.
The first thing, just as this kind of a side note, I know we were talking about playing around with atoms off chain. One thing I realized with my products, with my apps, is getting someone to like connect their wallet and you know, create triples or stake on triples and all that. That's a very steep, I don't know if you say it, learning curve or what. If someone's just getting to your app and for them to start using it and really get functionality out of it, they need to connect their wallet, and then they need to get some trust tokens, which they might not have, and they got to follow someone with a triple. So what I actually found with my products is that since Intuition's a protocol, it doesn't always have to be on chain. So I'm actually sometimes storing some of that data just locally on the user's computer. That way they don't have to connect their wallet. They can still interact with the app as if they have, staked on certain triples, like following this user or whatever. And that way it's one less step for them to actually get using and interacting with Intuition with your app. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing back some of the on-chain transactions until they actually connect their wallet later. So that way it makes the onboarding a lot more smooth. There's a lot fewer clicks that they have to do. This is just a heads up to anyone else building apps, that's not everything always has to be on-chain immediately when new users are coming on.
Yes, I just want to second that. And on that note, Intuition Core is designed with that in mind. So you can clone this down and then generate an API key for yourself and do writes. They're called counterfactual writes. So like instead of going on chain, you write it to the database. So if you do want to explore this approach, this is available in Intuition Core and you can try it out. The second thing I want to say is you're totally right about wallets and it's a steep undertaking. We don't have anything immediately, but we are in talks with MetaMask to hopefully bring over some services that will make sponsored transactions for EOAs using 7710 a reality. So hopefully, this year we could potentially have that, and that'll be available to ideally all of the people building on Intuition. So just worth noting that we are actively thinking about that and want to make that experience better as well.
And just one more comment to add there, what's really cool about Intuition Core and kind of the way things are structured right now is Atom IDs are deterministic. So if you have some set of Atom data, it will always resolve to the same Atom. And so you can just, as Cam said, you can do it counterfactually. You can just store it off chain and have confidence that when you publish it on chain, it's always going to resolve to the same Atom ID. So basically every Atom already does technically exist. Every Atom, even if it's not published on chain, does kind of exist. And some are published, some are unpublished, but you can absolutely kind of mirror the entire. You can kind of express the same knowledge graph structure off chain as you can on chain, and then when it comes time to publish it on chain, then you have your user publish it on chain, or you publish it on chain. So highly recommend checking out kind of the latest from Intuition Core on that front, because it just makes that process of going from off chain to on chain super easy.
Yes, it's exciting.
Okay, so one more question. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Kylan. Go for it.
Oh, so I was going to ask this question too. So since we're adding all these extra quote unquote types or classifications, whatever you want to call them, that sounds like you guys are heading toward a direction where the indexer will be able to support or query and search different types of atoms. Because right now, I think the Intuition RS node mostly just takes type thing and I think a few other types, but it kind of ignores the rest, right? It kind of throws away the data if it's not one of those types.
Correct. This is a great question. Let me just get a screen pulled up real quick. So the entire backend is meant to be modular and flexible, and it's already designed to be able to parse the classifications we have today. But this is probably the part I'm most excited about, is it's very easy for our community to add new plugins and add new classifications and add new ways to parse this. So if you want to add a new type, or you want to change the behavior of the backend, and you want to just index just songs or just expose something else, you can easily do that. You don't have to be like super low level. You don't have to write Rust. A lot of it can just be done in TypeScript, and we can make that possible. So 100%, the backend does do that today. It does parse a string and see if it's a URL or if it's a string. And if it is a URL, it'll go to that endpoint, and if it's IPFS, it'll get the document and it'll read it. If it's an image, it'll know that it's an image. So we tried to like handle all that low level parsing and reading, because that, you know, if you don't have that, then like everything else is very difficult to do. So yes, to answer your question, it is available, and we definitely want to make that easy and have other people contribute and add to the backend in a way that doesn't step on each other's toes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Real quick, Luda had a follow-up question about the atoms and atom wallets, using atom wallets to find the atoms. So right now you would have to do an API call. And he says that the trust engine syncs from GraphQL, which means the mapping isn't reachable in their current pipeline. Would this be a case for adding an API call into that sync, or is wallet to atom something that will land on GraphQL eventually?
It should be in there already. If not, we can take a look, but it'll be in this future API for sure. Let me double check, because it should be there for you.
Thank you, Kame. So we'll double check. We'll make sure that it's there for you at some point, and I'll follow up. One of us will follow up with you, Luda, to get you the final answer. And once that's live, Zed on Chain had asked, what moves a proposed predicate to official? Does the team just decide, or? And I kind of have the answer to that myself. I'll open it up to you, Kames, if you'd like, but I think it's generally like getting into the registry at all. You want to open an issue on the packages repo, and that'll get discussed in the open. Once the shape is agreed upon, it becomes a PR, and one of the engineering team will review and merge that in. So ultimately, like, Intuition team as the maintainers make the final merge call, but the discussion all happens in public and anyone can weigh in before that. And then I think moving from proposed to official, that's just kind of a thing that happens over time, not necessarily a rubber stamp at the merge. And really the signal that we care about to decide that is real usage and consensus. So does the ecosystem actually adopt this term? Does it hold up across multiple apps? And that's what these semantic engineering calls are for, right? Walking through proposals, pressure testing the semantics as a group. And it looks like we have the contribution guide pulled up right now. Kames has that showing on his screen. This is something that any of you can access and go through this process. We'll put out a less technical version here in the Discord. It'll be pinned somewhere. That'll go out shortly, I believe later today. Just waiting for one more confirmation on it, but this is something that anyone can start the conversation around contributing.
Yep, all well said. Like on point. That is definitely how you contribute. What I will say too, just to like what makes it enshrined or not, is we're not trying to be an authority. And this is, we're still like finalizing stuff, but enshrined will essentially mean it's probably supported in the back end. So there's like the classification, all right, it's supported in our backend, it's indexed, we have other predicates. So it's not like an authoritative, oh, it's shrined, it's enshrined in the sense that it's supported across the code. So that'll kind of be the determination. But like Wood said, how you get to that point is through opening up a PR and adding them and just going through these guidelines.
And someone can just run their own version of the indexer node anyway, right? So if they want to customize and add more classifications in there, support more stuff, they could customize it.
Yep, exactly. and it's pretty easy to set up. You should be an agent can prop this up in 10 15 minutes. It's got like 7 or 8 services, so it's not like a simple button click, but it's also not that difficult either.
Thank you, Kames. And in these last couple of minutes, Luda had one more question on deterministic Atom IDs for an account or person Atom. Can he derive the Atom ID from the wallet address locally? And if so, could I resolve that? Can I resolve that wallet to Atom without any API call at all?
So again, no. So, but what I would question though is like, how do you have the wallet address without the Atom ID? It seems like it's a kind of a difficult situation to get into. But ultimately, yes, you need the Atom ID to get the wallet on chain. Otherwise, you need to call the API.
Awesome. Thank you, Kames. Yeah, coming up to the last couple of minutes here. Thank you, everyone from the team, all of the builders, all of the community who showed out. Would love to continue these conversations. And these conversations don't only have to be had every couple of weeks on these calls. We can also continue these conversations asynchronously through our Atlas Discourse Forum, which is probably the best place to post and to start conversations around the predicates and semantic engineering that you want to use. Anytime you shoot a post onto the Atlas forum, we do get notified and we'll check them out. We can all have a conversation about it, and we can talk about it here in the Discord as well. But that Atlas forum really lets us have one well-structured, targeted place to keep everything nice and tidy and not having the chats get lost over multiple days. So if you would like to continue these conversations, we'll be doing that on the forum. We'll be back here every couple of weeks talking in person. There's always the opportunity for some impromptu calls or one-on-ones as well. Feel free to reach out to us. But thank you, everyone, for joining this this first episode or gathering for talking through semantic engineering. If you continue to have more questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Fungbill. We can connect you with the team. We can get you posted on the right Atlas forum. Keep an eye out for additional guides related to the packages coming out in the Discord and information going out via Twitter. If you ever have any questions on those, reach out to us. Thank you all, the team, the builders, for being here. See you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Enjoy the rest of your week. Don't party too hard this weekend. Catch you soon.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. I will be sure not to party too hard, but maybe just enough. Just enough.
Just enough. Don't go over that fine line.
No hangovers. That's the fine line.
Yes, exactly.
No headaches. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, as Wood said, feel free to reach out to me directly. You got questions? I will do my best to help. But sorry, Woods, didn't mean to steal your thunder.
No, all good, man. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time. Appreciate chatting with you. DMs are always open. We'll keep the conversation moving offline and see you in the Discord and around. Bye, everybody.
Au revoir.